regularly. O. Organize and hold on-site construction meetings regularly. P. Manage project accounts payable and watch costs. Q. Approve all invoices and submit for payment through loan draws. R. Review your change orders and lien waivers. S. Develop your monthly joint venture reports complete with financials, marketing, and budgets. T. Establish your property management plan and management guidelines/procedures if self-managing. U. Manage tenant turnover, punch lists, and occupancy. V. Select a mortgage company and negotiate the terms and conditions of the first loan. W. Work with the utility companies and the city or town to secure a certificate of occupancy. X. Negotiate and manage any sale of the property to a new owner. Y. Be persistent, honest, positive, and work hard. The result. When you pay attention to detail, the result is a center that works. It's a center that feels good to be at and is an enjoyable experience from the moment shoppers drive in to the moment they leave. Perhaps you have a center or two like that in your community. You know the ones that I'm talking about. They are the ones that are easy to get into. There's no driving 500 yards past the entrance, making a U-turn to double back and pulling in. Access is truly easy. Convenience is a given from the first turn of the wheel. Another telltale sign that a developer paid attention to detail is good parking. I can drive into a center and within a moment know whether the developer got it right. Are there enough spaces so that shoppers aren't searching and searching, wasting time, and causing aggravation? Or is there too much parking, causing a center to lose its intimacy, and for shoppers, particularly female shoppers, to feel insecure at night? These things matter. You can do everything else right but botch the parking, and you can be in trouble. I could cite pages of other signs. Ultimately, the magic all comes from bringing everything together: design, architecture, shopper needs, tenant mix, convenience, feel, legal aspects, construction, parking, the list goes on, and ending up with something that is uniquely suited for the market and the moment. From there, magic becomes lasting by having the foresight and the plan to grow the center into maturity. I love the complexities of retail real estate, and I love the challenge. This business taps into every aspect of who you are and every talent you have or think you have. It confronts your weaknesses head on and forces you to find solutions and resources to overcome them. It puts you in front of and beside some of the most amazing people in the world who possess talent and perseverance beyond compare. And in the end, all the hard work produces a product that satisfies people's needs, but more important, provides the escape and enjoyment that makes life all it can be. For me, retail centers are more than just bricks and mortar. They can be, and often are, magic. A magic that requires hard work, integrity, dedication, and a healthy dose of lifelong passion. Ways to learn more. www.icsc.org, www.uli.org, www.ccim.com. Zeckendorf, an autobiography of William Zeckendorf by William Zeckendorf. Threshold Resistance, The Extraordinary Career of a Luxury Retailing Pioneer by A. Alfred Taubman. Trump, The Art of the Deal by Donald J. Trump. Trammell Crow, Master Builder, The Story of America's Largest Real Estate Empire by Robert Sobel. Crossing the Road to Entrepreneurship by Bert L. Wolstein. Sharing the Wealth, My Story by Alex Spanos. Maverick Real Estate Investing, the art of buying and selling properties like Trump, Zell, Simon, and the world's greatest landowners, by Steve Bergsman.
Marty Dorito is the CEO of Dorito Partners Incorporated and Dorito Partners Development Incorporated, brokerage, management, and commercial development companies based in Phoenix, Arizona. He has more than 20 years of commercial real estate experience, specializing in the sale, leasing, and development of retail properties, including shopping centers and automotive parks. Dorito has been successful in providing top-quality aggressive leasing and management expertise, combined with conservative development expertise. The development company has developed over 5.5 million square feet and acquired 1.1 million square feet of retail and automotive properties. Dorito Partners Incorporated is the largest retail brokerage company in the state of Arizona based on the number of exclusive listings. The firm has 30 retail agents and exclusively represents and provides leasing services to 62 retailer accounts. The company has leased more than 11 million square feet and has listed for lease approximately 230 shopping centers totaling more than 14 million square feet.
Part 4. Lessons Learned. 20. Kim Kiyosaki. What one property can teach you. What can I say? I got lucky. Kim is beautiful on the outside and even more beautiful on the inside. On top of that, she has courage and is very smart. She learns quickly. And I know she did not marry me for my money because when we met, I did not have any money. What we had was our love and a dream of becoming a rich couple together. In 1987, the stock market crashed. The savings and loan industry went bust and the real estate market crashed. This is when I said to Kim, "Now is the time to invest." She often states that back in the 1980s, she had no idea what investing was, especially investing in real estate. On top of that, most people around us were crying the blues and complaining about the bad economy. Fear and pessimism were everywhere. In spite of that, she trusted me, and we began looking at distressed properties. Our plan was simple. We would buy 2 houses a year for 10 years, which meant we would have 20 homes to provide us income. She studied, did her research, and looked at house after house. Finally, she bought her first property. That investment changed her life. Within 18 months, she had achieved her 10-year goal of 20 properties. She has never looked back. She took to investing like a duck takes to water. Today, Kim is an investment partner in more than 4,000 rental units. Even as the economy crashed in 2007, her properties delivered positive cash flows while many other real estate investors were losing everything. In fact, her investment income went up as more people became renters. She is, as the title of her book states, a rich woman. But more than money rich, she is financially smart. She is a financially independent woman who does not need me or any other man to take care of her. That is why I am so proud of her and love her with all my heart. Robert Kiyosaki.
It is amazing the number of life lessons as well as the amount of hands-on knowledge you can learn from one single investment property. I'm not just talking about your first 2 or 3 investment properties as you're starting out. Those almost always deliver a steep learning curve. I'm talking about the lessons I continue to learn after years of real estate investing. Every property teaches me something new that I didn't know before. Here is the story of one property that to this day remains one of my greatest teachers. Miami, Florida. In 2003, my husband Robert and I were in Miami, Florida, attending an investment conference. At one of the breaks during the first day, a young real estate broker, Matt, introduced himself to us, and we spent a few minutes chatting. Being the good salesman that he was, he couldn't help but tell us about a real estate property that he had some inside knowledge of. The property was not on the market, but the two owners were entertaining offers if the buyers were serious. My first response was understandably skeptical. I didn't know this guy, and I didn't know if this was just a hyped-up sales pitch. In any event, it was a good pitch, and we had a couple of hours free that afternoon, so we drove with Matt to take a look at this property. Of course, according to Matt, it was the best deal he'd seen in years. About 20 minutes later, we pulled into an attractive strip mall with a few shops and restaurants. The mall was less than 2 years old, and some buildings were still under construction. At one end of the mall was a large health and fitness club. The building was about 38,000 square feet, with parking spaces allocated for the club. The property for sale was the building occupied by the one tenant, known as a single-tenant property, the fitness club. This particular piece of property was a triple net lease investment. This means that the tenant, the fitness club, pays the property taxes, insurance, and all repairs and maintenance. There is very little management on the owner's end. It is a very appealing type of investment, given the right terms. We wanted to know more. The first of many lessons. One of the first things that struck me on this visit was the potential risk. Since there is only one tenant, this means that all of our income on the property would be dependent on this one tenant. Therefore, the ultimate key to the success of a triple-net single-tenant investment property is, very simply, the quality of the tenant. Our income, our cash flow, and the value of our property would all depend upon the tenant's ability to pay us every month until the end of the lease. You can see the implications here. With any single-tenant building, you want to make sure that the tenant is financially strong and has a solid business foundation. In other words, Microsoft is a quality tenant. Martha's typewriter repair shop probably is not. The reason why you want an A-list tenant is that if the tenant leaves, so does all your income, and then you're left with an empty building that was designed for the tenant who is no longer there. Tip: one way to protect yourself from your only tenant vacating your property is to set up a reserve account. This is an account that you add to every month from the cash flow of your property. To sleep well at night, I'd recommend at least 1 year of reserves that allows you to pay the mortgage and any expenses associated with the property while you look for your next better quality tenant. The good and the bad. With any single-tenant property, there is the risk of the tenant moving out early and leaving the property vacant with no income. However, associated with that risk, we discovered another risk that was unique to this property. The mall where the fitness club was located was adjacent to a gated neighborhood community. Ordinarily, that might be a good thing, but in this case, an agreement between the owners of the fitness club building and these neighbors was in force. The agreement stated that any changes to the building must get approval from the neighbors. What would this mean for us? It meant that if the fitness club tenant moved out, then the neighbors would control what we were allowed to do with the property. They would control who and what could move in there. The neighbors, not the owner of the property, were in charge. This was a stumbling block. Of course, Matt, the broker, didn't see this as much of a problem. Robert and I did, though. If we were to move forward, we would want this agreement closely reviewed. On the plus side, this property was in a prime location. It was just around the corner from a prestigious country club, and it was on a high-traffic main street. The property was newly built, and the financials, at first glance, made sense. Based on the numbers shown to us, we would receive a healthy cash flow of about 18%. Tip: lesson learned. The financials given to you by most brokers are projected numbers, not actual numbers. Projected numbers are typically the best-case scenario, and they present a better picture than how the property is actually performing. Matt drove us around so we could get a feel for the area. There was quite a bit of new construction going on, and the number of people moving into the area was on an upswing. All good signs. We gathered up all the information he had and flew home to Phoenix. On the plane trip home, Robert and I discussed the pros and the cons of the property, at least what we knew of it in the brief time we had. By the time the plane touched down in Phoenix, we had decided we would make an offer on the Miami property and pursue it further. The next day, I phoned Matt and put in our offer. We went back and forth with the owners and fairly quickly came to an agreed-upon price. Now the work began, otherwise known as the due diligence period. This is when you perform a very thorough check of the property to make sure that what you think you're getting is what you're actually getting. And this is when my problems began. From the beginning. From the outset, this property had challenges. First of all, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. The property is located in Miami, Florida. Phoenix is nearly 2,000 miles from Miami, quite a distance. There was no way I could just drive down the street to check on the property. If a problem arose, I'd have to get on a plane, spend all day flying, rent a car, stay overnight in a hotel, and then spend another day flying home. A lengthy and costly affair. Second, this was the first triple-net commercial property I had ever pursued. Most of the properties I owned were apartment buildings with many tenants. This was a whole new animal in a whole new area. I immediately started telling myself how much I didn't know about this type of deal. And my feet were already cool from the start. I heard these words repeated in my head. What if I lose money? What if I make a mistake? Do I know what I'm getting into? My self-doubt was strong and loud. Then someone suggested, "You should hire an attorney to review the agreement." Aha, I thought. That will solve my problems. So I got a referral for an attorney in Tucson, Arizona, and I hired him. That decision led to my next problem, which I didn't understand was a problem until later. The lawyer I had hired was not a real estate attorney. He was a business attorney. He understood contracts but didn't understand a real estate investment. There is a big difference. So the due diligence continued on.
mentioned in the beginning of this chapter, whichever real estate investing opportunity you choose, it should be one that meets your objectives and one you really enjoy. That one factor alone will increase your chances for success considerably. Here's a summary of steps for tax lien strategy. Step 1. Determine your tax lien strategy. Strategy A, interest rate investment. Strategy B, property acquisition investment. Step 2. Identify your tax lien investment criteria. Step 3. Evaluate your tax lien investment. Step 4. Complete your due diligence. Step 5. Form your tax lien team. Step 6. Set up your tax lien investment system. Author's note. I would like to thank Mark Manoyle, Esquire, for his assistance with this chapter. Mark is the foremost authority in Arizona for tax lien investing, and his book, Arizona Property Tax Liens, was the source of much of the technical information included in this chapter. Mark was also gracious enough to spend some of his valuable time giving me his personal insights into tax lien investing. I would also like to thank Darius Barazande, Esquire, for his assistance with the state variations and subtle nuances of tax lien investing. Darius is an expert in the field of tax lien investing, and his training, Attorney Secrets to Investing in Tax Liens, covers the subtle yet vital variations among states for those wanting to use a multi-state investing strategy. Ways to learn more. Please go to www.provisionwealth.com for more information regarding the wealth strategy information contained in this chapter.
For more than 30 years, Tom Wheelwright has strategically developed innovative tax, business, and wealth strategies for sophisticated investors and business owners across the United States and around the world, resulting in millions of dollars in profits for his clients. His goal is to teach people how to create a strategic and proactive approach to wealth that creates lasting success. As the founder of Provision, Tom is the innovator of proactive consulting services for Provision's premium clientele, who on average pay a lot less in taxes and earn much more on their investments. He works with select clients on their wealth, business, and tax strategies, and lectures on wealth and tax strategies around the world.
19. Marty Derrida. How to Create Retail Magic. A Tale of Two Centers. Marty Derrida is an expert on retail real estate, shopping centers, and retail properties. As you know by now, there is a difference between residential, commercial, office, raw land, and other niches of real estate investing. When I want information on retail real estate, Marty is the person I call. For years, no matter where I would go to in Phoenix, I would see Marty's company signs, Derrida Partners, everywhere. But I had never met the guy. One of my bigger commercial properties is right next to a shopping center that Marty manages. I knew the owner of the property and some of the tenants, but I still had never met Marty. After a while, my imagination began to take over. I pictured that Derrida Partners was an old firm and that Marty was some old guy who had started the firm but was no longer active in the business. Then, one day, I met him in the gym and was surprised to meet a very young person. After talking to him, I realized that the reason I had not run into him was that he is a very busy, ambitious young man. Today, Marty is taking on some of the biggest and most ambitious retail real estate projects in Phoenix. He's got guts. Talking to him is invaluable because he has insights into the world of business seen only from the world of retail. In other words, he focuses on what shoppers are buying and where, along with how well the shopper is doing financially. When I want to find out what is hot and what is not with shoppers, Marty is the guy. He has insight into the local economy and what parts of the city are growing and what parts are dying, because he is on the front lines of consumerism, just by knowing how retailers in the area are doing. This is why Marty's knowledge is priceless. Robert Kiyosaki.
In your city or town, I'm sure there is one retail center that is simply the place to see and be seen. It is the center where people congregate, where people take their out-of-town guests, where they shop, and where they go for fun. And it is the center that you, as an investor, might be interested in owning one day. It is the center that you, as a developer, may want to emulate. And it is the center that you, as a business owner, would put at the top of your list when looking to lease space. No matter what your interest is in retail centers, this chapter will provide you with experiences and truths that you will want to know before entering the retail arena. Generally speaking, centers like the one we are describing are no different from any other retail center. After all, retail centers are simply a collection of stores and eating places with parking spaces, signs, and landscaping. But somehow, certain centers seem to be the ones that have won the popularity contest. They have become the winners in the battle for the shopper's time, attention, and almighty dollar. In the early days of my career, I admired the great minds who could pull together such amazing opportunities and then shape them into retail developments that didn't just hit the mark, they nailed the mark. Heck, they invented the mark, and then they nailed it. Now I admire those people even more because I know what it takes to make that kind of magic happen. Now I, along with the help of my team, have waved the magician's wand a few times. Experience has taught me, though, that it takes more than a wand, and there is little magic involved. Developing a premier shopping center takes 3 potent ingredients: great relationships, great real estate, great attention to detail. Now, you may be thinking, Marty, of course it takes those things. I've read a few other chapters in this book, and that seems to be what lots of successful real estate pros are saying. Good. I'm glad the other authors are reinforcing my message. Great relationships, great real estate, and great attention to detail are universal truths, and anyone who wants to achieve any level of success in real estate simply must put every ounce of effort into each one, because any two without the other isn't good enough. In my years, I've known real estate pros who have tremendous relationships with some of the biggest and best retailers. They can get the appointments when no one else can. They have their foot in the door. I've seen them have tremendous retail locations at the proverbial corners of Center and Main with high traffic and plenty of customer potential. But then I've seen them completely blow it when it came to the details. The architecture is off, or the economics of the center aren't right, or the visibility is impaired, or the list goes on and on. It takes excellence in all 3 of these ingredients for success. But what does excellence look like when it comes to retail centers? It's a very different animal when you compare it to other forms of real estate, and as you read further in this chapter, you'll come to see why. So whether you are considering venturing into the world of retail centers, thinking about buying a retail center, or even thinking about leasing space in one for a business venture, I'll show you what excellence means so you can recognize it when you see it. It has taken me decades to learn what I am sharing with you. I was fortunate to handle the leasing and sales of hundreds of centers when I was a retail leasing agent at Grubb & Ellis Company and on my own at Dorito Partners Incorporated. And the lesson has cost me plenty. About 10 years into my real estate career, approximately 7 years after I left Grubb & Ellis Company on good terms to start my own shopping center leasing and development company, I recognized a great piece of real estate, the 1 million square foot Christown Mall. It was more than 30 years old and needed a significant rehab to accomplish a drastic change in the tenant mix. My idea was simple: Add large power center retailers, Walmart, Costco, Target, etc., into an enclosed mall setting. The previous standard department stores had either left or were leaving to go to the newer mall near the freeway. But my research showed Christown Mall still had significant traffic counts on the arterial street. There was a good density of customers who wanted discount stores, and the existing owner already had Walmart in the center, but it wanted to expand to a supercenter. It all sounded like I was well on my way. My mistake was in choosing a partner to purchase and redevelop the shopping center. The firm I chose had a net worth at the time that was equal to the size of the transaction. In development, nothing ever goes 100% right. Working through a project takes time, persistence, and staying power, and by that I mean cash. The minute we hit some major obstacles, my partner wanted out. To make matters worse, when my partner entered the transaction, he sold a portion of his ownership to a hard money lender. I didn't know about it until it was already done. I knew if trouble were to occur, hard money lenders had no interest in giving me more time to work out the obstacles. Their business plan would be to push me out and force me to live up to the financial guarantees that I had given my partner, who I knew very well. The lesson I learned was never enter a partnership if you are the sweat equity unless your financial partner has a significant net worth. Find a financial partner who has a net worth or financial means that is at least 5 times the opportunity. Additionally, never allow your partner to sell all or a piece of his ownership without your written approval and/or a first right of refusal. My little mistakes cost me $7 million in cash. That was eye-opening to me, and eyes once opened must never close again. I became far wiser after that, and so will you with every project. But my goal with this chapter is to make you wiser from the beginning before your money is on the line. I guarantee you'll never look at a retail center the same way again, whether you are looking at it as an investment or simply as a shopper. You'll see it in a whole new light. I called this chapter How to Create Retail Magic, A Tale of Two Centers, because I will be using 2 separate centers as examples throughout. The first center, called Casa Paloma, is one I built from the ground up, and it has been completed for about 10 years. The second center, the Scottsdale Pavilions, is an acquisition, and we're in redevelopment right now, but the work was probably about 10 years overdue. I chose these 2 centers for this chapter because, in ways you will come to see, they are living, breathing examples of my 3 key ingredients for success: great relationships, great real estate, and great attention to detail. Let's dive in and define what these mean more specifically. Ingredient number 1, great relationships. Years ago, I had the privilege of meeting Mel Simon, the largest owner of retail properties in the world, New York Stock Exchange, SPG. And he said something I'll never forget: make a friend today and a deal tomorrow. Those were profound words, particularly in retail real estate, where you may find yourself working with these same friends your entire career, particularly when it comes to leasing space to these tenants. Unlike some areas of real estate, commercial office, for example, where you may do a deal with a tenant company once and then never again, or at best maybe 5 or 10 years later, retail real estate is often the opposite. You may find yourself doing 1 leasing deal, 2, 5, 10, or more a year with a company like Subway, McDonald's, or a grocery store, for example. These companies and their real estate teams become regular customers, and like anyone else in sales, I believe our product provides better value and adds to their bottom lines. In other words, almost on a daily basis, our reputation and our relationships go hand in hand. Weak performance is not an option. Relationships, I have found over the years, come in a variety of flavors. Relationships with tenants. Tip: I can't tell you how many times the great relationships I've earned with retailers on one project have helped me on another. For instance, at our Casa Paloma Center, a wonderful upscale mixed-use shopping area, our tenants there appreciated us because we created an exceptional property with significant retailer sales per square foot, and we worked to bring in the best of the best retailers, creating a strong tenant mix. Scottsdale Pavilions is a recent acquisition that we have always seen as a center with huge potential. It had been neglected by its previous owner, and currently it is about 20% vacant. The retail tenants didn't like the previous owner very much, but they are beginning to like us a lot because we are making a difference. We're infusing huge dollars into improvements that will make the center more desirable to both retailers and shoppers, and we are working with them to redefine the right mix of tenants and create significant customer demand so that everyone can make money. That's what relationships are all about. This opportunity to completely redefine the tenant mix and re-merchandise the Scottsdale Pavilions is good news for everyone. Guess where we will go to find new tenants? You got it. To the people and the companies who believe in us, who are partners with us in our other centers, and who are our friends. Of course, there will be retailers we've never worked with before in the Scottsdale Pavilions, too. Our existing relationships will even help us forge those new relationships. We have a ready, willing, and able group of friends who not only want their own brands to succeed, but they have us as well. And they know that partnering to create a great tenant mix is one of the ways success happens. Relationships with shoppers. Just as it is important to have great relationships with tenants, it's equally important to foster great relationships with shoppers. In retail, relationships come in the form of giving shoppers what they want. Later, we'll get into the details of exactly what that is, but for now, let's focus on the relationship itself. When Dorito Partners, my Arizona-based company, bought the Scottsdale Pavilions, we knew it had a bad relationship with shoppers. How? Well, for starters, business was dwindling year after year. It was an errand center, meaning it was a place where shoppers would come to stop at one store and then leave as quickly as possible. Tip: in retail, the goal is to get the shopper to stay at your center as long as possible. Think about it. If you stay at a retail center an hour longer than you intended, you'll probably spend more money. We all do it, either on food or on some luxury that suddenly transformed into a necessity right before our eyes. That's the psychology of shopping. There's more, so keep reading. And each of us brings it to life every time we enter a Costco, a Saks, or any other retailer. But getting people to stay longer isn't as easy as it may seem. It takes the right combination of convenience, entertainment, and ambience to make it happen. That's where relationships come in. Call me a ladies' man, but I try to have great relationships with women. No, not in that way, but in the sense that women comprise 2/3 of all shoppers. With men making up 95% of retail center developers, it's critical that anyone in this business understand what women want. Before I began developing Casa Paloma, I asked my wife why she was traveling 20 miles north to shop at the retail centers in Scottsdale rather than going to the ones closer to where we lived. She looked at me with an expression that seemed to say, "You don't know?" And then she began to explain. The centers here don't have the right stores. There's no Banana Republic, or Chico's, or Ann Taylor. There are no good restaurants and no AJ's Fine Foods, a higher-end grocery store. There's nothing upscale. It's just more fun to go shopping in Scottsdale and more convenient because there are lots of other stores nearby that I can stop in to pick up little things here or there. "Oh," I replied, my wheels turning. I know she left thinking, "Duh, or some more adult equivalent of that expression, but the truth was I wanted to hear the truth from her. And then I asked the same question of her friends. From them I got similar looks and similar answers. That led to my lifelong relationship with female shoppers, and it's paid off in big numbers. Casa Paloma remains today one of the top grossing centers in the state. The Scottsdale Pavilions, by contrast, had forgotten about its shoppers. It was a hot property when it first opened up 20 years ago, before there was much competition in the area. But then the trade area began to grow. Other retail developers began forging relationships with shoppers where the Scottsdale Pavilions didn't bother. Business began to trail off, and before too long the Scottsdale Pavilions was in a downward spiral. When I bought the center, one of the first things we did was send a questionnaire to 6,000 homes in the surrounding community. We told our neighbors that we were going to reinvigorate the center, and if they would kindly tell us what they would want there, we'd give them 2 free movie tickets. We had a flood of responses, not because of the free movie tickets alone, but because people were honored to have been asked their preferences. It was the beginning of our relationship with the shoppers in the trade area. What women want. Women make up 2/3 of all shoppers, so it's a good idea to deliver what they want. Convenience, variety, atmosphere, fun, entertain me, ample, easy parking, security, one-stop shop, the right stores, value for their dollar, cleanliness. Ingredient number 2, great real estate. Here it is again. You're thinking location, location, location. You've heard that before, but in retail the word great means several things beyond just location, and they are critical. They are non-negotiable. They are the differences between success and failure, between happy tenants and problem tenants. Here's my list. Great means visible. Let me say it again. Great means visible. Shoppers can shop only in stores that they know are there, and that's all there is to it. A store that is hidden is a store that is empty, or a restaurant, or a newsstand, or a health club, or an oil and lube shop for that matter. Being seen from the street and